Hurricane Ian wind officially is already as high as it's massive, impacting
Ian is bearing down on western Florida,
landfall.
strongest hurricanes to strike the U.S. in decades.
When everything settles and the storm is past and daylight breaks on the destruction that is left, your house, your car, your place of work, your community, life as you know it, is gone. You can't help but ask yourself, how can we rebuild? How do we get our community up and running? How can you provide access to necessities when roads are demolished and resources are obsolete? How can you instill hope in the community after so much devastation? Most importantly, how can you rebuild better than before and ensure a better tomorrow? Well, the answer to these questions lie within these men and women. They're the working class, the linemen, electricians, contractors, builders, roofers, first responders, volunteers, boat captains, and community members themselves.
Oh no, I'm not leaving. This is home. Nobody's leaving.
Yeah, this is where we live. To see it the way it is and somewhat unrecognizable.
For us, we can't let it go like this. And we've only begun to fight, I guess.
These are the heroes that make rebuilding possible. This is The Rebuild.
This is Beach Talk Radio.
Morning,
Every day.
Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Dean Jean. Dean Jean. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Live from Peach Time Out in the heart of Times Square. You're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Bryant.
And a good evening, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio for your Monday night Hurricane Ian recovery update. And before we get to our candidate forum, our new candidate forum for tonight, we do have some updates to bring you. We love to bring you updates on what's going on the beach every night that we can. And tonight's update begins with a money update. The amount of money raised, we told you last week, was at $223,600. And today, the new dollar amount is $260,215. It went up by quite a bit, and a lot of that has to do with the T-shirt sales. We have probably over 500 T-shirt sales, and the way people are doing it is they are not only just buying the shirt for $30 or $35, they're donating like $70 more or $100 more, and that doesn't include any of the boxes that you've been sending to us from Amazon or wherever you're sending them from in the garage that we take down to Buttonwood. So it's way higher than that when you calculate it all in, but that's some sweet number right there. What do you mean? What does it mean for me? So far,
an announcement about something.
So far, we've given to the Women's Club and the Community Foundation $105,000. We're giving them another $30,000 check on Friday night when we broadcast live from Buckets. We're going to broadcast live from Buckets. They're doing nightly fundraisers for restaurants on the beach for the employees. Tonight's fundraiser is for the staff and Nervous Nellies. And Friday, when we go from 6 to 7 to do the show, that will be for the Whale. So we look forward to you all coming down to Buckets on Friday night for a celebration, the Happy Hour show, which was a huge success this past Friday.
It's a good thing that I listened to the show as well, so that
you know where you're going.
You're going
to
Friday.
Yes, you're going to Buckets.
That heads up.
And we've also delivered over $27,000 worth of gift cards, and we wish we could move that along faster, but we're stymied by the amount of the number of gift cards we can buy at the different locations, but we're trying. So those are my updates. By the way, that video that we showed earlier on, and we'll show it later on at the end of the show too, is from Aaron Fry. Aaron lives on Indian Bayou Drive off of Lanark on Fort Myers Beach, and that's going to be a weekly video, according to Aaron. So subscribe to that YouTube page if you can, and stay in the loop on the rebuild. We'll put it back up.
Okay.
Yep, we'll put it back up. Now, I know you've got a couple of quick updates before we get rolling with our three candidates waiting in the green room.
Yes. So as was told to us that on the Tuesday at the town council meeting
Tomorrow.
they're going to be announcing a pass system for folks who work and have to get on and off the island or go to school and take their children to school. So,
And
gonna
that's
hear
because the island closes at
on
5.
Wednesday, Tuesday. Right.
So
you're
you'll
gonna
be
hear a
able to
little
get
bit
back
about
on.
that. It's going to be on a case-by-case basis, as one would expect.
And the agenda for tomorrow is up. If you want to go on the town's website and see what they're going to be discussing, it's going to be more of a general town council meeting like they have been in the past with an agenda and items. They're going to be talking about like town hall and things like that, what they're going to do. And you can check out the agenda if you want. And the other one is
That there's going to be a community resource event. We don't have all the details on that, and that's slated for Thursday, the 27th at 7 p.m. And I think they're both there. That is also going to be at Skip One.
all right. So a third meeting Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
Not
Yeah.
council meeting, but it's
third
gonna be
meeting,
a
though.
place where
People can go and answer. Hopefully FEMA will be there in groups like that.
different-
All righty. We did that in under 5 minutes because we don't want to keep our fabulous guests waiting. 3 of our good friends from Fort Myers Beach, John King, Karen Woodson, and Patrick Romko are in the Brady Bunch boxes tonight. And we have an election coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow. And for the folks on Fort Myers Beach, it's going to be the biggest election ever with everything that's going on. Of course, that's just my opinion. You guys might think different. So what we're going to do tonight, if you have questions for the candidates, you can always type them in the chat box and we will ask them right along. We prefer that the questions came from you, the folks that are out there. And right now we're going to start off alphabetically with a 1-minute introduction, and John King gets to roll first. John.
You're going to need more M&Ms in the green room. Sorry about that. Thanks to Beach Talk Radio for hosting another forum. And thank you ever so much, Kim and Ed, for all you've done for Fort Myers Beach since Hurricane Ian. The money raised, what you just said, over $260,000, the tons of supplies donated, and just as necessary, the communication and information you've shared with residents. Now, that's one of the reasons I began my candidacy back in April. A lack of communication between the town government, business owners, and taxpayers. And it's even become clearer now that there's a lack of communication among council members as well. There's a lack of leadership, and voids in the area, in that area, have been filled by Dan Allers and Jim Adderholt, and thanks very much for doing that. I believe government should work for its citizens, and I believe in that now more than ever. That's why, I've told you on my first Beach Talk Radio appearance back in April that I was going to, if I got elected, I'd donate a portion of my salary to an island nonprofits. But I'm changed that. If I'm elected, I'll donate the entire first-year council salary of almost $17,000 to island nonprofits.
Thank you. Patrick?
Hey, everybody. My name is Patrick Romko. I live on Widgeon Terrace, right behind the Catholic Church. Pretty devastating for us all. Been emotional. It's going to probably be an emotional night, and it's hard for all of us right now. And but some of us just need to know that we need to just, in 14 days, we get to make a change. And in that time, we're going to need you to be supportive. We're going to need to change the culture. We're going to have a whole new leadership program in. We have to concentrate specifically on new management from the town manager. And we need to just focus on change and bringing us all together. And I want to be part of that. In the next 4 years, not just one of the two of us are going to be on the town council. And we're going to be part of the change for the next 4 years. And it's going to be important. So research us, ask us questions, go to our Facebook pages, messenger us, phone call, whatever you feel you need to do. But every one of us will be happy to sit down with you, or you can meet us out on
Thanks,
Fort Myers
Patrick.
Beach.
And Karen Woodson.
Hi, I'm Karen Woodson. You know, I've been on the beach every day. The tragedy that has been caused by this devastation, I mean, we all know that our island is not going to be the same, but there's an opportunity to make it better. And I think that's what we're all here for, is to look at the possibilities that Ian has given us. I know it's really, really hard to look at that in that way, but I truly believe that with new leadership, with a change in the direction of the town and how we partner with our residents, how we partner with Lee County, how we move this devastation forward, we are going to be the better for it. And I want to be part of that. I've wanted to be part of that from the very beginning, before all the devastation happened. And now I want to be part of it even more, because I believe through my leadership, through my ability to bring teams together, to bring people together, that we can move this forward to an even better, more robust community than we've ever had before.
Thank you, Karen. And when we do the question and answer, the answers for the real questions will be 2 minutes each instead of 1 minute. So folks know that the answers will be a little bit longer than the opening. I did want to mention this because it's very important for people to know that there's no polling places on Fort Myers Beach, and you still need to know where and how to vote. And Lee County Elections has a fabulous website with all the information that you need to know where to go to vote. The 12 early voting sites will be open on Election Day and will replace traditional polling place on November the 8th. Voters may vote at any of the 12 available voting sites during early voting or on Election Day, regardless of your assigned precinct. It's important to know that. Now, you're wondering where the 12 locations are. You can go to beachtalkradionews.com, and right before the show today, I posted all 12 of the sites. They have links on them with the directions. It's the story. I think it's the second story up there now. You can go on there and see which one is closer to wherever you're staying. So it's important for you guys to know where to go and how to vote on Election Day. All righty. Would you like to entertain the folks with your question there, moderator number 2?
This question from one of the audience, Bernard McGarvey, asks, what is the first thing you will do when you get into office?
And we start with Patrick.
Well, I think the first thing I need to do is to try to find out the information that we're not being told now, and try to figure out how to communicate that information properly back to the people as fast as possible. We're talking a month from now that things are going to change. But I'm going to tell you what, number one thing on my agenda is a town manager. And I want to evaluate that immediately. That's number one. Number two is to reach out to everybody and let them know, give them confidence in the new town council to start building a better, rebuilding a better relationship and a culture between the open communication and transparency between us, the town council, and the people, because that's what we're lacking now, and that's number one.
All righty.
I'll tell you what, if water isn't on by then, and electricity isn't on by then, maybe that'll be number one. But
Okay.
God, that better not be.
All right, Karen, same question.
So I think, there's a lot of work going on right now with Lee County to repair the relationship, and I think that will continue. I think we are going to need Lee County's help without going back to not being incorporated, but stay incorporated and really partner with Lee County in how we move this forward. I think we really have to go back and look at some of the latest ordinances and codes that were passed with setbacks and variances and all that type of thing. Because as we look at rebuilding, we're going to need to have some adjustments with that. We have to be more flexible. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt. And some of these codes that and ordinances that were just passed, quite honestly, they weren't meant to be passed like that. That certainly is not the way the LPA passed it. And it's not what we want to do going forward, I don't believe. So I want to take a look at all of the codes that have been passed probably in the last 24 months, 24 to 36 months, and just really see if these are valid and move forward from there.
And John King.
I think one of the first things I want to do is sit down with the other council members and find out really what the plan is. It just seems to be we're flying by the seat of our pants in certain areas. And I think both Karen and Patrick have also touched on it. Communication is going to be the key. I'll meet with whoever, whenever, and however I need to. Also, Patrick mentioned the town manager. That's always been one of the first things on my list as well. And Karen, you talked about the partnership with Lee County. I think that's where Lee County can come in and maybe either job share or something similar like that to fill in for those places we need to have those filled in. These folks seem to be a little more of experts in dealing with bigger issues than what we've seen happen in Fort Myers Beach. So I'm really proud of Lee County as well for stepping up. But one of the things I will never do is just turn over our government without a say so. I mean, we saw that happen in the early days, and I understand part of it with the urban search and rescue teams and the fire district. But I don't know any law that says they make decisions for the town of Fort Myers Beach, and I think that was just wrong. We should have been working hand in hand at the least.
All righty. So, Karen, you are first for this one. Take us through your thoughts on how the mayor and the town manager led us through the early days of the aftermath of the hurricane.
As a leader and a manager in business, and I've led many, many, many teams throughout my career, it was probably the worst excuse for leadership that I've ever seen in my life. There was no communication. There definitely is no plan. There still isn't a plan. There was no outreach to even any, Holly Smith in Sanibel. I mean, she was just Johnny on the spot. She had it down pat. They had a plan. They had a program for it. They met every day. They communicated. It was open meetings. We had zero. And if not for you, Ed and Kim, we would still have pretty much zero. You are our information source. This has to change. I mean, it absolutely is. It's disgraceful.
John, you're up next. Same question.
They were AWOL. Absent without leave. And I understand the personal losses that they've felt and had to deal with, and we all have. And I'm sorry for the losses that they've incurred. But you also have a role, and they abandoned that role. And then once they did get involved, they didn't share information. There are council members that still do not know what's going on. They were afraid to take questions from the press. And Ed, I'm going to include you in the press, but it's sad because we're just now putting out canned videos, and if you've seen them, sometimes they can't even hold the camera upright, so you're looking at them like this, and it's just an embarrassment. It's not how an organization should be run.
Patrick?
So let me walk you through this. Day one, after the rain started going down, the water started going down, I was able to hitchhike my way back to the island. And I ran into some obvious devastation, friends that had lost their lives, friends that tried to survive through the storm. And I ran into Bill Veach, who had just got a flat tire because he had gotten 2 that day, and he was just coming from his house that was destroyed. And then I made my way down to town hall and saw how devastated it was. I think the lack of a plan, the lack of an emergency plan, that should have been planned 2 days before that. But we were still trying to figure out why we didn't have sandbags 2 days before that, because we were struggling to get sand and sandbags at the town hall. So it's a lack of leadership, and I'm going to stick it with Roger. He obviously doesn't have the aptitude. I wouldn't have hired him in the first place. So, but when I went back after walking 5 miles to my house and then having to walk back the 5 miles back from my house, trying to find out if my house still was there or if anything was still there, I didn't see anybody. I didn't hear anybody, and it hurt. And then I still didn't hear anything for 2 days. And then finally I hear Roger showed up, and I get he lost his house. They lost their house. But people needed to communicate, and they needed to communicate effectively, but there was no plan.
All righty. Did you have a question first before do you want me to pop Megan's on? Sure. All right. I think you guys have kind of touched on this. Megan Heil, who everybody knows on Fort Myers Beach. There is some chatter about the county taking over or the town unincorporating, and I guess we want to know what you guys think about that. Right now, the Lee County is paying for all the sheriffs. They're paying for they're involved in the debris removal with the state. They might say, hey, we're doing all the work anyway, so why don't we just take over? Wait, go ahead.
The other part of that is what are each of you going to do specifically to gain the trust of the town residents that the town is capable of a viable government?
John, you're first on that one.
Well, I would just say, and I've heard the rumblings as well, and I've seen it from a former mayor and somebody that used to head the Chamber of Commerce organization as well. Give us a chance. New blood, new breath is coming in, and we're going to pump that into Fort Myers Beach, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable. We're going to communicate. We're going to share. We're going to be there in your neighborhoods. I every day I see somebody, what do you need help with? What can I do for you? Well, that's just the kind of person I am, and that's how I'll continue to operate on the council. So give us a chance.
Okay, Patrick?
All right, so real quick, I heard that too, and I've never met Tracy Gore. I've seen her before, and it was word on the street about her. And Tracy, if you're watching, I apologize. I'd like to meet you. I don't know. But I do know a couple other people that have actually told me to my face about it and asked me what I thought. And the first thing I have to say is, you hired the guy. Who hired Roger in the first place and gave him an extended contract? Those are the people that are right now saying, well, we need to dissolve the town and bring it back to it's ridiculous. All of a sudden, because you can't be in control, because you're not on the ballot, you want to just let it go. But let me tell you how I feel about that. I feel that we can't let it go. We have to unite. We're a small town. And if we let it go to people that don't live here, they're not going to make the same decisions we're going to make. They're not going to. They're not going to know what it's like to lose your house and everything. They won't know that. We do. So we need to unite. We need to stop that nonsense crap about dividing everybody and putting this hate out there, because we all have a vested interest in this town. Every one of us. That's all I say.
Thanks, Patrick.
I read the article that was in the news press that Tracy had been interviewed for. That's the old regime. And the old regime is the old regime. And I don't think that has anything to do with us moving forward. I think people who vote, they're going to vote in the people that they think have the skills, the leadership, the common sense to move forward. And that's two of us that are sitting right here in this room today. I can't even imagine us, for as hard as we worked for that incorporation, to give it back without a fight, without a reason, without at least the possibility to show us, to show everyone, to partner with our residents, to partner with our community to move this forward. And I will say that I just want to take a step back about the current town council. I think that Dan Allers has done so much, that he's been on site in our face every day working forward. Jim Adderholt has a different style. He's behind the scenes. He's making a lot of phone calls. He's getting in touch with people all over Lee County, all over this state. He's talking with DeSantis. I mean, the two of them are doing everything in their power to help move this forward. And when one of us, two of us get in and continue to move that forward more and more, we have majority vote on things, that is only going to help us.
All righty. Thank you, Karen. Did you have one you wanted to throw in there?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So this was a question I had, but actually someone in the audience asked it. In regards to looking forward and doing the rebuild, what are your thoughts on having a city planner, like reaching out to the greater community, the greater area, and having a city planner to come help that has the skills and abilities and resources to restructure and rebuild the town? Is that something you would be interested in or not?
I think we'd be foolish if we thought we could do this on our own. And I think we need to go and ask an expert. We have experts in our community right now currently that just live on Fort Myers Beach that we don't listen to. But we need to go out and do that. We need to find somebody that can guide us. And there's people out there that have been through situations like this already, and we need to tap into those resources.
Karen?
So actually, Patrick Vanass, who actually lives on our island, he is also part of the LPA, and he is a planner. He's a city planner, and he has already talked about putting together a group of planners from all over the community, or all over the communities in Florida who have gone through this before. They've actually built bigger and better, or more quaint and more everything they wanted. And he already offered that up to the town council to put that together. Bring these people in, include all of our residents. My understanding that up in the Panhandle, when they did this, they were able to actually take 80 to 85% of the recommendations from the residents of that area to rebuild. So Patrick's on this. He knows how to do it. He's already reaching out and trying to pull this group together so that immediately when the new town council comes in there, we can sit down with these people. We can have an introductory meeting. Then we can go forward. We can lay out the whole plan so that the residents know what's going to happen. And I think it's the only way we should go about doing this.
John?
Hell yes. As I said at Commotion by the Ocean when the chamber sponsored it, I'm willing to take a good idea from anywhere. A good idea is a good idea, whether it's down in Key West, I think was one of the questions back then. I noticed on the news the other day, Cape Coral is looking at helping their residents with the FEMA 50% rule. Right away, I shot a text off to Jim Adderholt. Hey, is this something the Fort Myers Beach can look into? A good idea is a good idea. And the more input and the more professionals we can have around to help, you bet.
So Karen, starting with you, let's talk about the 50% rule, even though we've had, I don't know, I feel like we've had 100 people on it explaining it different ways, but I think everyone understands it now. Should the town look at being more relaxed on well, I don't know that they can, but should they try and figure out ways to help residents in a way that they might be able to build at ground level? Obviously, the FEMA rules are in place because you don't want this to happen again. People thought it couldn't happen, and then it did happen, and the rules are there because you want to keep people safe and keep this from happening. So what are your thoughts on the 50% rule? Should we follow it to the letter of the law, or should the municipalities try and work with the government to ease up on that a little bit, like Cape Coral is trying to do.
I definitely think we need to ease up on it. It's up to the town to ease up on it. We have that ability to do that. Yes, I mean, the reason that they are so strict is so that the town gets more discounts on insurance and all that type of thing. But it doesn't have to be that way. And even if we eased up for 2 years, let people have some time to rebuild and get their life together and organized again. And then if we have to tighten up again, but you know, the town has the total control to do that. And I think it would just be a tragedy if we didn't. Everybody talks about they want that old beach feel. We've lost so many of our cute, quaint cottages that really made Fort Myers Beach, and people want that back. Well, you can't put everything on stilts and have it to be that quaint look. Not that everything has to be exactly the same. It is going to change. I realize that. But I think there's a way to go about it that we can still have our quirky, quaint community. And the only way we can do that is to have the town ease up.
John, you are up next on that 50% rule.
Well, yeah, and which it became apparent last week, which figures are they dealing with? There were discrepancies between $300,000 and $400,000 for some people. That needs to be cleared up. But like I said, from what I understand from the Cape Coral town, what they're doing is they're going back for pre-1981 builds, and anything in the last 5 years, they're going to create town ordinances that will wipe out any renovations you had, so it won't count against that. Whatever we have to do to make it Fort Myers Beach again is what we need to do as a town.
Patrick, thoughts on it?
I definitely think we need to ease up on the town. Talking to a lot of people, we're a small island, and everyone's been saying we're afraid that it's going to turn into something on the East Coast or something like north of Naples, and we don't want it. And the easiest way to help manage it back to where we are is to, we have mom and pops that can't afford to build those, and they have the footprint that they want to keep. And why should we stop them from doing that? We have legacy people on our island that want to maintain that same thing that their grandparents had. And we won't be able to do that. So I think it's in our best interest right now to listen to the people. And I think it's our best interest to do what's right for them. And if they want to rebuild and they want to take the risk of building on the ground level, then we should do it. It also goes to say, and I want to bring this up because someone had brought this up to me, and they're talking about how can they get their second level to become a third level? How can they get it to be able to put more room in there so we can go from 2 occupancy to 4 occupancy? And I think we need to look at occupancies because we're so worried about, getting people to live on the island and workforce housing. But if we're limiting our ability for those people to use the guidelines to grow them, I think we need to just be more flexible with that. And I 100% will definitely stand by that.
So there was another question kind of similar from the audience, is that, there's the worry that big investors will come in and kind of scoop up property and scoop up stuff. And again, back to that losing the character that you guys all have down there now. Are there things you guys can do, things that the town council can put in place that you would advocate to limit that, protect what you have, prevent it?
John.
Honestly, that's not an area of expertise of mine because of the short time I've been here, but I would rely on Karen with your LPA background. Jim and Dan both have the LPA background. So I would listen to the experts on that and see what we can do as a town to bring everybody together, and let's have some unity and uniformity. Well, not uniformity necessarily, but just bring people together and get the town where we want it to be.
Patrick?
I think first things first is we need to, one of the reasons why I think people would be hesitant to rebuild is because obviously cost. But I think another reason why is because they have a lack of faith in their leadership. They have lack of faith in their community and of their council. And they're afraid that they're not going to be able to build onto these things. They're not going to be able to do this. So number one, we need to make them feel comfortable that we're working with them, that we want them to rebuild and that we want them to do, because they can't, no one will sell it. If we build a community where people are strong and we're saying this is who we are and we want to keep that, then no one's going to sell to investment bankers. The only people that will do that are people that are desperate. And I don't know if you know this or not, but they could have sold 6 months ago. They could have sold a year ago for $1 million. They're still here. They're still here because they didn't want to sell. So we need to figure out how we can get these people to sit back in their homes and rebuild it. If we need to help them out, do we need community people to do it? Do we need to find them funding? Whatever it is we need to do to get these people to maintain their houses for the legacy, for their family, for the future. And that's how we do it, because we can't stop people from selling their house. All we can say is, why are you selling your house in the first place? Do you really, I mean, in 5 years from now, where do we see our town? Anyway, I've overextended my time, but thank you all.
Yeah, you're good. So just for folks that might be watching that are not from Fort Myers Beach or aware of what's going on here, these are the 3 new candidates for the town council. There are 2 seats open. Obviously, everybody knows election day is in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow. And the mayor is also running again for re-election. And one of the things that I also wanted to share with everybody was I did talk to, we were talking about unincorporation, and I did talk to a couple people from the state legislature, and it would take an act of the state legislature to unincorporate the town of Fort Myers Beach, or it would take the entire council, the Fort Myers Beach Town Council, to vote to unincorporate. We know that's not going to happen, that the town council is not going to vote for it. And the state is going to hold a special session soon, according to the governor. But I was also told that our local state reps are not in favor of unincorporation. So it kind of would have to go through them, you would think. So while we see that there's some chatter about it, it doesn't look like it's on a fast track to anything, for whatever that means, or for whoever is concerned about that. So do you have another question from the audience? So all the previous...
Karen, can you answer that question?
Which question were you talking about, Patrick?
Karen, did you? I didn't know. I'm sorry. I thought maybe.
No, Patrick was the only person that answered that.
Oh, geez. I'm so sorry. Oh,
but now can you repeat the question again?
Yeah,
Karen, I
John
can't
mentioned it, and I repeated
myself in there.
I'm so sorry. You gave us some good information. That was really good. Thank you.
You know what happens if I don't get it out there? I'll forget it. You guys know that. I'll forget all that stuff.
Let's not forget about Karen just yet.
Yeah, but that's why you have to repeat the question to me.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of information there. I was just listening.
It was your question. I hope you remember it.
I believe that the question was about, what can the town do to prevent big investors from coming in and scooping up the island properties.
Right. And, you cannot limit people to where they want to sell or who they want to sell to. However, I think if people are selling right now, I think it's because they're scared. I think it's because they don't know what else to do. There's a trust factor with the town, or I should say a distrust factor with the town of how they're going to handle the builds. It goes right back to the whole 50% rule that we just talked about. Yes, we need to work with our residents. We need to work with our town, and we need to help put into place guidelines and areas that can be more open, more modest, that we can get the kind of community building back that we want, that we partner with our people trying to do the best thing for their town and for their family and for themselves. That's a trust factor that has to be built, because it's not there now. And I'm afraid that people are going to be selling too soon, too quickly, and not giving everyone a chance going forward.
Got it. I think, John, we started with you on that one, right? I don't want to leave you out. Okay, good. So we've been hearing the discussion of the change that might be coming when there's a new town council. Who's up first? Patrick is up first to this one. Are you talking about one change? Are you talking about wholesale change? Are you talking about doing it right away or waiting till Roger's contract is up? What is your vision for the best way of doing it?
Well, I will tell you this. When we talk about change, it has to be swift and immediate. We need to do that because we owe that to the people. We need to make sure that when we put in the new mayor, and we all have kind of agreed on who we think that should be, when we put in a new mayor, that we introduce the mayor and give him the opportunity to branch out to us and tell us what he thinks, because as our leader, I want to follow our leader, and I don't want to go behind his back and say anything that might be opposed to him. So I think we can all assume that whoever that is, and we all, without saying anyone's name, that that we have to ask the question of the council people now. What are the limits to that? What are the possibilities? I also heard people on the island are ready to just pay off his contract. But I think it needs to be swift, and I think it will be. I think working with the new town, because we're going to get a new town mayor right off the bat. And we're going to get 2 new people on the council that could make an impact on voting for something like that. So I think that it's really important on who people vote for because of that factor.
All righty. And Karen, same question.
I think we have to move quickly, but I think we also have to be smart about it. I think we need to have a plan. We need to have identified interim people to take people's places while we're conducting a search. I have talked to a couple of members of the town council about me being the one to lead those searches, since that is my entire background, was recruiting and organizational design and management and that type of thing. But yes, we need to move quickly. But yes, we need to move smartly as well. And I'm not saying that we have to stall anything, but we need to have that plan. We need to get our new mayor, our new vice mayor in, and we need to have a planning session, and then boom, go.
Got it. John?
I think both Patrick and Karen have touched on the key points. Move swiftly and intelligently, and let's see what the new leadership of the council wants and at the pace they want. I mean, everybody realizes it's time for Roger to go. At one point, I was willing to let him go out gracefully, but he lost any grace with me. So let's be smart, let's be quick, and let's do it and get it done for the people. Because it's time for this town government to work for the people, not them working for the town. That's how you build trust. You're open, you're honest, and you do the things you say you're going to do.
Gotcha. And speaking of working for the people, we love the people here too at Beach Talk Radio, the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach, or the only one. Julia has a question.
We love you too, Ed.
I feel like when we harken back to some of the old issues, they almost like, oh yeah, there's other issues going on the beach, not just this one. She wants to know what your thoughts are on the short-term rental hike. We start with.
I think it starts with me.
All right, hit it.
You know, it was really interesting. I think it was 2 or 3 days after the hurricane, I got my assessment and my bill in the mail for my rental. My husband and I own one rental, and we got that bill, and I took that bill and went like that. Because right now, I think it's not even something that even needs to be talked about. It's a dead issue. There are no rentals right now on the island that I know of. I haven't seen one. I think all of these fees and everything that was pushed through in this budget meeting really needs to be reassessed given our current day and what is going on in our community. I think throw it out the window and start over.
All righty. And now we're to John.
Well, I kind of agree with Karen, but I addressed this at the council meetings in September for their budgets. The fees and the tax hikes on top of tax hikes because your property value had increased was very, very disappointing. And it was hurting people that I know that kept their original cottage and then moved to a different place and then sold that off. They were paying more in fees and taxes than they were bringing in from renting it. And that just doesn't work.
Patrick?
Well, it's kind of some question I was asking the other day. We talked about, well, that sounds like a normal question, right? For a normal time. And obviously we haven't received that, but in communication with many people, we're going to have to make sure that we adjust. And none of us on the panel, at least here, agreed with the budget increases anyway. And we're pretty shocked and awe when the town manager put that out there, especially on those surprising shocks. We're just going to do this without, oh, I'm sorry. We all know, we all felt betrayed when that happened. But Karen ripping that apart, 150%, Karen, rip that sucker, burn it. Everybody should do that. To just know as of November 9th, you can just rip that bill there, because I'm telling you, it's not acceptable.
Did you get any video? Did you get any video of that, Karen? You should have taken video of that.
It's a good thing I didn't have it, because there were some very nice, not so nice words that went with it.
So let's go back to the live studio audience. Where Susie Bayhan. Susie, former member, or she might still be, if there is a public safety committee. I don't remember if there is or not. What are you willing to do to ease and expedite the cumbersome and lengthy permitting process that Fort Myers Beach is so famous for? And this one starts with John.
Well, I'd like us to start waiving some of the fees that we're charging for these people, especially during this time. I mean, we've seen the fire district step up for 90 days. They're taking care of that. I hope they will look at that and extend it. I tell you, I got an early indoctrination last year when I bought an air conditioner, and I found out I needed a permit for it and how much extra that cost. So cut.
All righty, and now we go to Patrick.
I think that I get it, because everyone I talk to, I mean, just sitting in council meetings and you go over a variance report that's 2 hours long and you wonder why the meetings take so long. I think expediting is going to be very crucial. I think right now we all just want it done faster and faster and faster. When that's another fear, is we all know that it's not a fast process. And then the variances as well, I mean, could take months, 6 months to a year. Some people are still waiting on variances they put in, for 2 feet of an easement this way or a foot this way. And as I sat in those meetings, I thought, my God, it's a foot. I mean, it's 12 inches, and we're going to fight for 6 months over 12 inches of where your porch is going to extend out to, or your pool. And I just want you all to know that I care deeply about your time and your investment in your property. And when it comes to variances, I'll be swift. And I will make sure that if you want, you come to me at that point in time, and I'll make sure it is swift, because we need to make sure that we have a town manager in place that can make that happen.
Is that everybody on that one?
Nope, I'm me yet. You
Sorry,
can leave me out
Karen.
here.
Karen off. Dang it. What's wrong with me?
I think the whole permitting process needs a redo. We are so far behind the 8 ball on it. There's so much that is, you put in for a permit and then, oh, this isn't right. And then you have to redo this and redo that. And at one time, there was a firm called GFA, and they were a contracted firm, and they did the permitting, and they were efficient. They were capable. They did permitting, building, development. They did not do code enforcement. And that's when we actually had contractors that wanted to work with the town. We had pool contractors that wanted to build pools for our town. We had all kinds of things that were positive and partnered. And we can do this with this group. We can partner with Lee County to do it, but we don't have the capability. We don't have the staff. We don't have the resources to continue doing this. The whole thing needs to change.
Ed, if I can redirect, Karen, thank you for bringing that up, because I got a phone call yesterday from a gentleman who has 4 properties on Fort Myers Beach, and he lost them all. And he said 2 weeks ago he went to Lee County and asked for a permit, and within a week and a half he had his permit done already from Lee County. I think that's one of the reasons why people want us to incorporate, right? Is because we can't do things as fast as Lee County. And
right, but we don't have to do it as fast as Lee County. All we have to do is partner and get the right people in to do it.
And that's why I'm suggesting that as an idea to say thank you for bringing that up, because in the reality of it is that's how we win. That's how we get back to being stronger.
Oh, anybody else want to jump in on that before we leave it? I want to make sure that everyone gets a fair.
I think all I wanted to emphasize what I meant by cut is cutting the red tape and the bureaucracy.
And
Gotcha.
the negativity and the
There was a question. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, here's the one this is the one, right? What do you guys think? Do you think that this is a great question from Georgia? Because there are a lot of expenses to debris removal, and I know that the town is getting help from FEMA and the county and all that stuff, but there are other expenses that could bankrupt the town. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? And this is John first.
What I picked up from last week at the council meeting was no, I don't think we are going bankrupt. The big help with Lee County taking over the debris removal, getting it into the FEMA guidelines so that there's reimbursement there. We've got money that obviously we're not going to have to spend on certain things anymore. So I don't believe that's a possibility.
Patrick.
I think we have to be realistic when we look at budgeting. I know that we're not going to have revenue. The businesses aren't operating, giving us revenue. Rentals aren't operating, giving us revenue. It's going to be a while before that happens. I think, look, just one example of the parking tickets per se. Are we still going to be able to have beach patrol going around giving parking tickets out when we can't even allow people on the island? So our budget is definitely going to be impacted, and I can see that as a concern. But I think we need to try to figure out how we can bridge those gaps, work with the state and work with FEMA and work with the county to get us over that hurdle. It's going to take, I mean, everyone's suggestion, it could take anywhere from a year to 3 years. I mean, I've heard people say it'll take us 5 years. But if we look at Mexico City as an example, and we look at the Panhandle as an example, we have to go back and say, okay, well, how did they do it? They're a smaller community than us. What are the guidelines? And so I don't think we can say that just yet about bankruptcy. I think we could manage it. And I think right now, because of the devastation, because of the way people care in our country right now, and the way they're given to Beach Talk Radio and to our beach and our island, I think I don't think people want to let that happen, Ed. I don't think they're going to let it happen.
Aaron?
So I think we have to be careful. I think we have to be fiscally responsible. One of the first moves we need to make is hire a director of finance. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have not had oversight on finance issues at all. It's been through the town manager only. And so there's been no checks and balances. So honestly, I don't know where exactly we stand on the finances. I will be pleasantly surprised, hopefully. But we do have to watch carefully, because we are, like Patrick said, we are not going to have this income. We're not going to have the parking things coming in. We're not going to have businesses operating, although there's a lot of interest by all the restaurants on this island of putting in food trucks, getting that going again, having, people, having places for people to go on the island. So that's going to help. But first things first, let's get a director of finance in. Let's partner and get more involvement through our governor, through state, with the chief financial officer of the state. I'm sure he's got a lot of insight into grants and how we can get more money out of our government. So there's a lot of steps to be taken here, but we need a director of finance to help us through that.
John?
I started.
Sorry, Patrick. Everybody went?
Everybody
Sorry.
went.
You guys know this is past my bedtime. Dave, should we have full-time employees or contractors? Most people in positions of authority are contractors. I think that following the town manager's direction. So whoever goes first, go.
I think I'm up first on that one.
All right, Karen.
I think there's a time and a place for contractors. Contractors, in my experience, have been used to ramp up or ramp down. And that's what you use contractors for. But you have a base of employees that everyone agrees are the smartest, the most viable. They're compassionate about what we're doing in this town. They love the town. They love the value of everything. They love the mission. So you have that base of employees. And then as you need to ramp up, you hire contractors to take care of overflow. And then when you don't have, and then you're caught up and you don't have that overflow, you ramp down again and you have your base employees. And we need to have some structure in hiring those employees. I mean, what is our mission and values that we want to achieve? How do we want their heart to look like in this process? Yeah, we know they got to have the skills and the skill sets to do everything, but they also need to match the culture that we need to create for this town.
Alrighty, now we're going to John King in the upper right-hand corner of your screen.
It's Dave Nussbaum, my buddy, that helped get me into this over the turtle glass issue. I actually tried to get Dave to run for town council before I stepped in, but he wasn't a full-time resident. So Dave, thanks for the question. I hope you and Julie are still doing well. Yes, Karen, we both were in the corporate world. You want your full-time employees doing the work. They will take ownership and pride in ownership. And yes, if you need fill-in, that's where you have the contractors come in and do it. And maybe I know I've talked about this before. I'm not sure if we're there yet or we can get there, but look at cross-training the full-time employees we have to slide over to a different job if they need to help out in that area. It worked in the telecommunications industry for years.
Patrick.
I think that first things I want to say, Ed, is since we brought up the employees, and I have to say this, I think our employees right now are being we're not looking at them right now and underappreciated. I mean, the utilities department alone, I mean, I've gone past them and seen them knee deep in sand and everything. And, and I know the director, Christy Corey, who the other day everyone gave her kudos at the town meeting. Well-deserved. I mean, our town people are giving our employees the kudos that they're not getting from their town manager. They're definitely not getting from their mayor. And I just want to make sure right now, I say that thank you to every town employee that is currently doing the work. It's emotional for us. We live there to just work on our houses, but to work there every day, I'm sure you share that same emotion. So one thing I want to say is that we need to make sure going forward that we recognize the value in that factor of an employee. Having said that, I think there are people that are very capable of doing a better job and doing the job, like John was saying, of maybe even multitasking. However, underneath the manager, the town manager, Roger, I don't think they're able to do that. I think it goes back to that. A lot of them probably feel that there's incompetency above them. And people know what that's like to work for a manager. They don't leave a job because people don't leave this job because of the job. They leave the job because of a manager. And I think that one of the reasons why it's easy for a manager to use contractors is because it's easy to fire them if they don't do what he wants them to do. I think we need to go forward looking at it differently. I think we need to look for expertise when we need expertise and we don't have it, and we notice and we recognize that we don't have those expertise. I think we need to reach out to contractors for that reason. I said, do we need to have contractors for permanent use full time? No, I think now's the time to invest back into our town right now. Invest back into our town, invest back into our people, build the people, put all the bolts together so that way our machine starts to run, and that way we have accountability. Anyway.
First time we went to the limit, Patrick. That was.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go. Do you support building height restrictions during the rebuild? We kind of touched on that, but if you want to add any more detail to that, I think we're John.
I don't have an answer for that, honestly.
Okay, Karen.
I don't want to see skyscrapers, that's for sure. I want to keep with our funky beach theme. But by the same token, if you are rebuilding and you do have to go up that 15 to 18 feet, whatever it may be, in order to have a 2-story home, you're going to have to be able to go up a little bit higher. Not that we lose a ton of view corridors or anything like that, but I think we have to look at things, look at what the restrictions are now, look at the FEMA regulations. We've got to come to some kind of agreement, because I don't think you can go up without having some extra height there. It just doesn't work. But again, to go a 4-story house or something like that, that's not what we want either. Nor do we want to see, huge, buildings everywhere when you come over that bridge. I mean, we got to keep with the culture of Fort Myers Beach.
Patrick, last one.
So I think it goes back to saying when I brought it up earlier, a friend of mine that owns right now, currently it's got 4 units, 2 units on the 2nd floor, 2 illegal units, they call them, on the ground floor, which are gone obviously now. And that person wants to be able to take the same occupancy that they have and just move it up. And that would be 3 floors. And I don't see why we couldn't do that. I mean, I know when we brought this up before, Rexanne, she was in a meeting and she brought it up about how her view, obstruction from the view as she drove down the stairwell. Well, if most of us live on side streets, we don't have a view of the beach from where we live. And right now we currently only see the houses in front of us and behind us. So I don't know if an obstruction for view is going to be something that is worried about, but I think we need to make sure that if people want to build on the ground level and people want to take the same amount of occupancy that they currently have, illegal or legal, and raise it up, I think we should have a variance for that.
You all touched on the communication aspect of it when we first started tonight. Let's say 2 of you get elected, or whoever gets elected, and there's going to be change. You want to improve the communication. You've seen what Sanibel does. You mentioned that. What do you want to see happen? Like, how do you want the town council and the mayor and the manager to communicate with the public? What is your idea or vision of how that changes? And that's Karen? Patrick,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think everything that we're not getting right now is what we want to see. I think knowing that we have to go to Beach Talk Radio to get our news, to get the information. And most of us were getting it on our cell phones, Ed, because we didn't have internet service, and we did have spotty service when we did get it. So, we might not have been able to see it, see something, but when we did get around to see it, we did. And we all were looking for information. The first thing I did when the power went out, I ran around in the house looking for batteries to put in the radio because I didn't know what was going on. So I think communication is the number one factor. And we're not getting that. Also, transparency. So we need to change with transparency. We need to change with communication. We need to make sure that we have confidence in our town manager that he is giving the town council accurate information. And so that way the town council can prepare. And then also, but we also need to make sure that right now, we might have to have more meetings. Right now, we might have to have those stipulations. Right now, we need to go back and look at it and go, okay, how can we communicate better in the next 3 months to get everyone the information? And I'm going to tell you, we've talked about this before. One of the biggest reasons why I came on the town council was because I wasn't being heard. I have a job and I'm trying hard to want to be part of this, but I can't. There's so many people that work on our island that they need to be a part of it. So we need to have information for everybody, not just a certain select. And I do believe that some of the reasons why we're not getting the information is because they don't want us to have the information. And we know that. And I want the information. So we need to figure that out. We need to figure out why they're not getting us in the information to us and then how we can get it back to them. So 100% right now off the same bat, day one, communication, open communication, transparency.
Karen?
So I do agree that now we need more meetings, more communication now more than ever. I don't know that would have to happen all in person all the time, although I don't think 2 town council meetings are enough in a month. I think we need to start with weekly. I think we need to be posting daily on our website, which they started to do a little bit more most recently, but I don't think that gives the whole picture because things change on a dime right now. And the things that we're hearing, just like the whole reason that we have this Monday and Tuesday restrictions are to help clear the way so that the debris can be cleared and all this kind of stuff. Well, it's not happening. It didn't happen today either. So just what is being communicated is not necessarily accurate. It's not telling the whole story. We have a communications PR person. There's no questions that have been answered by her at all. I mean, there needs to be a driving force of communication, and they need to be out there every day. They should maybe be on Beach Talk Radio every day. They should be posting every day. They should be setting up their own sites to do this. But the lack of communication has just been horrific, and that needs to change. And maybe it's even every council member takes a week. You take a turn. You're on all the time. You're open for questions. You're open for phone calls. Almost create hotlines. We've got to think outside the box for this.
John, looks like one of your light bulbs went out, but you're up. Wow. It's getting dark where you are.
Oh, it's getting dark outside too. This has been a big issue for me since day one. When I first started getting involved with the Turtle Glass issue, we didn't have a place on the agenda. So we used the public 3-minute comments and nobody got a response afterwards. But by the number of people we had showing up, then we got placed on an agenda. Let's move around and experiment with the council meetings. Jim talked about last week how questions and answers worked for him. That's very important. I hated to be in one meeting where I saw Tom Houghton from La Ola get up, address his 3 minutes, and then he sat there afterwards and nothing from anybody. And he got up and left. So I went out and talked to him about it. And I said, hey, I appreciate your issue. This is how I'm going to address it right now. Also, I've been a big advocate of holding, and Karen, you talked about it a bit, holding monthly meetings, whether it's in the library, whether it's Let There Be Light, whether it's in the library or where it is, or even in a Zoom type of a situation like this. This is what the town council has been doing this month, this week. What does it work for you? What do you need to see from us going forward? What do you want to see on the agenda? Big proponent of sharing information.
Got it. Got any questions?
Well, so we've talked a lot about residents and helping them recover. What about businesses, and what is your guys' plan to help, pave the way for these businesses to come back? Because in a community, you have not only residents, but obviously you have those businesses, like you mentioned, restaurants or stores or, whatever. So can you guys each speak to that and your ideas for that moving forward?
I think Patrick is up, if I'm right.
Karen, but I'll take it.
I'm writing it
Well,
down, Patrick.
I know.
Go ahead.
I think it's Karen, but that's okay. I don't want to be disrespectful. It's such a heartfelt conversation to have when your friends own businesses, and then a lot of people on the island who lost not only their house but lost their jobs. And I think we need to have them in our minds going forward 100%. And we haven't always had good communication with our businesses. We haven't had a good relationship with our businesses, our town manager, fighting our businesses, finding them constantly, and then trying to do small improvements and not being able to do that. I think going forward, this town council needs to be acceptable for all of that. We need to have an open conversation. We need to have a friendship, a family. They're our family. I mean, without the businesses, we're nothing. We all want to go down and get a Royal Scoop ice cream. We all want to go down to the Olo. We all want to hit Margaritas on a Thursday night and do karaoke or hang out at the Lighthouse with Shelly and Dave, and head up on a Nervous Nelly on a Saturday. Most of us that live here don't leave the island. I don't know what it's like to experience downtown Fort Myers, because I spent almost all my time in my last 5 years here on the island with the businesses and with the people. Let's be honest, the good deeds, the little hardware store. I think we need to make sure we do whatever we can to work with the Small Business Association. But more importantly, I think Jackie Lissick, we need to look into her. She is such a shining star in our community. And, obviously, working with the Chamber of Commerce more and supporting her, and then working with the town to have more events for when they do get back is something I talked about prior to this. I said, but I think the Ingrams had some pretty good things to say about it a couple months ago when they said, no one wants to listen to them. No one wants to do this, but I think we need to change that. So thank you.
All right. And Tina, that's a great question. I will call and ask somebody tomorrow and see if I can come up with an answer for that when the Publix is coming back. That's a great question. Karen, you're up for the previous question.
Yeah, so I don't think I've talked to one business owner that does not want to rebuild and be back on the beach. And they're looking out obviously for their own investment, but they're also looking out for their employees who have all lost jobs, that, trying to keep them in the loop, try to keep them funded. I think, there's a lot of talk about doing the food trucks and things like that. I think that's a start, but I also think we have to move really rapidly on the plan, if you will, and how we're going to lay this out. What is Times Square going to look like? What is the north end of our island and mid island and south end of the island going to look like? Because we had restaurants and businesses throughout the length of the island. So we can't just focus on one area. We have to focus on retail. We have to focus on restaurants. We have to focus on, how are we going to move this quickly through the process and get the funding to rebuild this. Funding is going to be key for all of them. And the sooner we can get moving forward on this, I just think it's going to be so uplifting for the entire town to see movement on this. No one wants to leave here. They all want to stay. They want to rebuild. So how quickly can we make that happen?
John?
This is something that touches my heartstrings because I grew up in a small family owned business. My grandfather, my dad's dad, came over from Italy, worked in the coal mines in Iowa. And to get out of that, he started a donut shop during the Depression. That business stayed in the family for over 50 years through his heart attack and his death, through my dad's cancer, and then ultimately his death. And then it just became a little too much for my mother and I, so we moved on. But I still, to this day, people will know about the Donut King, and we'll give you heartwarming stories about it. I've talked about with Jason Ingram about at length about communication. That's going to be another big key. Keep those businesses in the loop. And what do we need from them? Because I view my role, if I'm elected to this town council, as being someone that removes roadblocks and helps facilitate success. We don't want to be like up in the Panhandle where there's some communities there that they still don't have the restaurants back after all these years. And no, we don't. We can't succeed without them.
No.
I'm just going to share this with everybody. I have to investigate it, but it just fits into what everything that you guys are saying, that the town is trying to find somebody $15,000 for putting yellow sand under their house. How could you find anybody right now? I mean, unless they're doing something so blatantly wrong. Again, it was just a text from somebody who we respect. You all know who it is, but it's just an interesting thing that there could be fines given out for something that's going on down there.
So
now,
in addition to don't eat the yellow snow, we don't
use yellow sand. So, is there anything like take 2-3 minutes, not the closing, but is there anything, an issue that you all want to bring out that maybe we didn't talk about that you want to get off your chest, or that you want to make sure that the voters know about, or fill in the blanks there? So, John, you go first.
I think you've done a good job of that. I'm not the smartest man in the world. I'll tell you that right now. I'm just a condo owner and a taxpayer. I just stepped in because I've been given some good tools by God to use. I'll stand up at 6'8" and I'll speak loudly for those that feel they're not being listened to. And I'm not going to apologize for that for 1 minute. I will tell you what I don't know. That's just how I am. But I will work with those people that do know to find answers. That's one of the things I will always do. It's like Ronald Reagan said, it's amazing what a man can accomplish if he doesn't care who gets credit. And I don't care about the credit. I don't need a plaque on a park somewhere. I just want this town to be successful.
Patrick.
So it's not a closing statement, right? There's just
just something you want to get off your chest.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I want to get off my chest is that I'm afraid, like everybody else, am I going to be able to get my life back together in 3 months? Am I going to be able to live on the island in 3 months? Am I going to have, am I going to be able to get access off and on the island? What's that going to look like? How can we manage our island better than it is currently being managed now, with access getting to and from and on and off? I spent 3.5 hours getting off the island the last week on a weekday, and coming from Widgeon, which is behind the Catholic Church. And I thought, how come we're not coordinating this? How come no one's managing the damn traffic? How come we can't do this? How come we're allowing people to do these things? How come we don't have, I think that I'm afraid that people ask me, when can I return? And I go, I don't know, because I don't know how long it's going to take me to and from to get into work or get off the island or get in the island or anything. So I think that's a big concern right now currently, is they have to do something before November 1st about getting us on the island, getting us, allowing us passes or whatever it is, managing the amount of people on the island, maybe looking at contractors that can work with people. Because if you look, you go down the streets, and I was just there yesterday and I put it on my Facebook, we still have massive destruction everywhere on our island. And people up north think, oh, it must be getting better up there, but it's not getting better. I mean, there's a lot that still has to go down, and I want a plan. I want to see a plan. Everyone knows what we've been talking about. Everyone sees this. I want to see a plan, and I don't see a plan. I'm a resident, and I want to be able to get on and off the island, and to have a damn placard that says I'm a resident means absolutely nothing to me. And I just want that. And I'll tell you this, when I get the information, when I'm in the know, when I'm on town council, I'll make sure that there's a plan. I'll make sure that, because that's where I live, and that's where I want to live for the next 4 years, the next 5 years, until I'm dead. because that's where I want to be. I want to live. That's why we all moved down here. So anyway, it's an issue for me, the communication.
All right, we got you.
Anyway, sorry about that. That's a rant.
No worries, no worries. Karen, anything that you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, before I do that, can I just ask you to really elaborate on that fine for the color of the sand? Why? I don't understand that whole comment. What happened there?
Just read you what I received. I have to call somebody. Chad is trying to fine him $15,000 for putting yellow sand, which is more strong, under his house than white sand that goes with the flow of the beach. That's all I know so far. But Kim will put on her investigative hat.
Really, really interesting to know. And the other thing that I keep getting questions on is, okay, let's talk about this entrance to the beach and people checking IDs and doing that. And everybody's been blaming the sheriff's office for not taking that, but it's not the job of the Lee County Sheriff to do that. It's the job of the town. And to my knowledge, what is the Beach Patrol doing? What are they doing now? Why couldn't they be managing this process to help the on and off of the island so much better? And also, why do we even have these restrictions if nothing's happening when we are off the island? I mean, it just makes no sense to me. I mean, there's just always so many things that make no sense to me with the current management of the town, but those are some really big ones. And, where the sheriff gets involved, and they've already done it, the looters. I mean, they have picked up, six looters now already, 3 that were working in a group. And then there were some individual people. I know Mark and I had things taken, every day there's something else missing that, we were going to save. So, just taking responsibility for our island through our town management. I mean, that just hasn't happened.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay, Karen, now I made you go last here, and you you get to go last. What the hell am I doing? Who went first? Patrick, John went first. Okay, so Karen, you can go first or second right now. Would you like to end first or second?
I'll end first.
Okay, Karen Woodson, ladies and gentlemen, is going to end first.
So I'm going to end first. I want to be number one.
Wait. Karen, hold on a second. Kim's got something.
So help kind of sum it up, because I was waiting till the end, but somebody had this question on and wanted to really know from each of you the skills that you have. What are the skills that you have to lead us? That's their comment, into the future. And I think that'll lead into.
So we can do it. Let's do it this way. 1 minute to answer that. 1 minute on top of your closing, and we'll rock and roll from there.
My skill set is in team building, in leadership, in promoting people, promoting the good. People for whatever reason, I can be honest. I can be forthright in what I'm saying, but everybody can always trust that it's with integrity. I'm going to speak my mind always. I am going to listen. I'm going to take all of this input from you. But once I come up with my opinion, that is where I move forward. And I think that's really a valid point when you're looking at change and being a change agent. I also have experience, this goes back to a number of years ago, but with the whole FEMA and flooding, I mean, our family's farm flooded in 1993. And it flooded because the Army Corps of Engineers broke the levee between Columbia, Illinois and Valmeyer to save St. Louis. Well, that's where my dad and brothers' thousands and thousands of acres farms were. They were out of their homes for almost 2 years. The water, it doesn't recede like an ocean, it's a river. Mississippi River. And so my brother had water up past the second floor of his house. My dad had water into the second floor of his house. They lived in apartments. They would get around the farms on john boats. We lived through the whole experience of FEMA and getting the reimbursements and getting everything we could from him. And so I've been through that. I know what it takes. And I'm willing to work right alongside FEMA, right alongside our residents, and getting that moving, because it is a complicated issue. But I've been there, I've done it, I worked with my family on it, and I do know the ins and outs somewhat.
Great. Perfect. 1:59, Karen. You must have had an egg timer in front of you. Patrick, you get to go second, and it looks like you're getting ready to take a nap there, but go. Just kidding.
No,
By the way, off the subject real quick.
Yeah, that's man thinking.
How is the Cigar Hut doing? Are they going to open?
So if it doesn't take
Real
enough
quick.
time, so thank God, the Cigar Hut will probably be one of the first businesses open.
Nice.
Just due to the fact that a lot of the product that he had, about 25% product was saved because it was so high up
Nice.
in the rafters. But it's completely gutted. John did a great job of building that building.
right.
We watched from our friends.
All right.
from,
All right. You're dragging it on. All right. All right. Go
Cigar
ahead.
Hut's gonna be good.
Here's your skill set and your closing. 2 minutes.
So a lot of people don't know I'm 52 years old, and I probably look 12. But qualifications, first things first, I have a bachelor's in political science degree from Western Illinois University. I've done a lot of studying for that in about 25 years ago, which I changed because I ran for mayor at the town at the time in Macomb, Illinois at the age of 28. I've been an active leader in every community that I've lived in. And I've also been committed to the last 30 years of being on school boards, from any type of boards for the Boy Scouts America to rebuilding and restructuring small little towns just in the south suburbs, organizational groups. I've been a recruiter in the school system for many years with the Boy Scouts America. I've had to work with 7 to 8 different municipalities, making sure that we grow that program, even at a time when the program itself, as everyone knows, the Boy Scouts America hasn't been in the best of limelight. So I've been able to do that. I've more recently, I think I've gotten about 500 to 600 kids a year to join the Boy Scouting program. As personal experiences, haven't had an easy life. I grew up poor in the city of Chicago, single mom, 5 kids, and we fought for everything. So, I'm that rat in the corner that's backed up against everything. And because of that, it's made me a critical thinker. Because of that, it's made me a person that can rebound from different types of things. Now, there's one thing I want to say is anybody can just manage something. I used to manage restaurants and nightclubs, but it's a lot harder to manage something when it's not doing well. And that's what I did. I went in and I used to work for McDonald's, and I'd go in and I'd take over McDonald's corporations that were failing and bring them back to normal. Most people that are just managers today just want to move the needle 1 or 2 or 3 or 15%. Well, you take a destruction, you take an entire bar and you close it down and start it back up. And that's what I did. That's what I did for before. And that's one of the reasons why I had a heart attack at the age of 47. I moved down here after that. I mean, dealing with the shootings in Chicago and dealing with a student of mine getting shot before I left to come down here. I came down here to be
Patrick,
safe.
we got to cut you off. It's 2.5 minutes. So
All right,
sorry.
let me just round it up.
Go ahead.
Listen, I'm the right person for this time. 4 years it's going to take, and you need me here. Come talk to me. We'll find out. Thank you.
John, skill set and closing, 2 minutes.
And closing? Okay.
I didn't know I get to close yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
We'll come back if anybody needs a minute. It's
Telling
just cutting into my. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Well, communication, obviously, I started out in radio, moved into telecommunications, where I found there was no communications in the telecommunications industry. So that became a big issue with me. Karen, you brought up the term change agent before. That's what we used in the Midwest. As an employee, we called it employee involvement, and then focusing on the quality process. I don't always have all the answers, but I'm willing to dig in and research and bring those people together that do have answers. and work with them and hold them accountable and get back to the people that have the original questions. Now, that to me is what my skill set is, and besides being a big guy, and we go by height. I'm going to go into my closing then and just say thanks, Ed and Kim, for this opportunity again, and bless you both for all you've done for Fort Myers Beach since Hurricane Ian. Patrick, Karen, thanks for being part of this as well. Now through November 8th, you can vote for the government you have currently at Fort Myers Beach, or you can vote for the government you want. And then you've seen tonight what we want to bring to you. If you want open and honest communication, if you want common sense to apply to your government, I think I'm the man. There are two things I'll always try to keep in mind if I get elected to the town council. One is, how does it benefit the town, and how does it benefit the taxpayers? I'm never going to forget the taxpayers. Whether you're a resident, a full-time resident or not, or a business owner, you're still paying taxes in this community, and I will be your voice. If you want someone with a desire to do the right thing, then I would appreciate your vote between now and November 8th.
Thank you, John. Anything you want to add, Patrick, for up to a minute to your closing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, because it was kind of trying to push it all out there in 2 minutes.
I'm an amateur at this.
I just want you to know that now's the time for us to make things different. We need to put the right person in the job. We need stronger communication. We need to be like-minded people. We need to be organized. We need to organize ourselves, our skills, our resources. We need to put the past back in the past and move on to the future. And I just want you to know that I'm going to make sure that we work on rebuilding that communication and rebuilding our town, not differently, but yet with the same. Thank you. Vote for me.
Baron, you get the last call here.
So I want to thank you and Kim as well, Ed. I think the forums that you have done for us and the amount of people that have been listening, and I hear it constantly, I think it's been incredible. We talk a lot about leadership. We talk a lot about change. We talk a lot about who could do the job better. That's up to the individuals. And I hope and I pray that by now, you know who we all are, what our strengths are, what our skill sets are, what our passion is for this community, because I can't think of another place that I would rather be right now is working side by side with everyone in this community, working with Dan and Jim, and moving the needle forward here. I posted this on Facebook a while ago, but I just want to reiterate it. I was able to salvage 35 signs out of my 300. I had to power wash them because they were full of mud and gross and everything. So any signage you see now that's all you're going to get. I am not reprinting signs. I am not spending another dime. For the campaign, I have about $10,000 still sitting in my account, thanks to all the supporters that I had. And I'm holding on to that so the campaign is finished. I'm giving that back to our town, to our community through your outlets, Kim and Ed. And I just believe so strongly, I think that's the best thing that I can do right now in this time and place. But just know that I'm here. I'm open for questions. I've been getting a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls. I return every one of them. So I just, again, respectfully ask for your vote. Karen Boydson, Town Council, right time, right choice.
All right, you guys. Thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate your time. Good luck on November the 8th, and we'll surely see you out there before Election Day. Thank you.
I voted today. I got my
Good luck.
You can vote. Everyone can vote. Make sure they know where to vote, Ed.
I'm going to do it right now. Thank you, guys, and bye-bye. All right. So November the 8th is Election Day, and I know you want to go eat, so if you want me to do this ending here, I did want to remind people that if you're hungry, I know you haven't eaten, you can go to Beach Talk Radio News right now, and you'll see where to go to vote. You'll see that the polling places, 12 of them, you can go to any of them. And the reason that you want to go on the site now is because you want to see the one that's closest to where you're staying. and go out and vote. You need to go out and vote. This is an important time for you to vote, not only for the Fort Myers Beach Town Council, but you have to vote no on whether to make the school superintendent an elected position. Don't forget that's on your ballot. And also the at-large school board member, you're going to have that person on your ballot. It's going to be Denise Nystrom or Jada Langford. So it's an important election, and not even to mention the national stuff that's going on there. But go on to the Beach Talk Radio News website, and you will be able to see exactly where you can go vote between now and Election Day. If you missed the update earlier in the show, we have now raised $260,215, and that is up from $223,600 that we mentioned last week. And that's mainly because of the T-shirt sales. We've sold over 500 T-shirts. 500 of them were bought by Daniel, and so they didn't cost us anything at all. As soon as we covered the cost of the first 240-ish that we bought, 100% of the money went into the fund, and it continues to go into the fund. You can pay by PayPal at Beach Talk Radio, and you can pay by check by mailing us a check to our home here. Everybody knows where we live by now. And all the details, there's an order form that is on our website that you can go and check out. We're still taking money. We just got $1,000 donation from Roger, and we'll not that Roger, a different Roger. We'll tell you all about it on the next show. Now, speaking of the next show, it's probably not going to be tomorrow because the meeting is 4:00, and I'm going to go stand with one hand on the window tomorrow to see if we can broadcast that somehow. The Wi-Fi in the Shrimp One building is just so awful. Skip One building is just so terrible. Your hair is amazing, Lori says.
It's tonight, but thank you.
So the garage is full again of a product again from all your donations on the Amazon wish list, which is also at beachtalkradionews.com. We had a bunch of people that we wanted to say thank you to for the coffee donations, but we'll save that for Wednesday and Friday. And on Friday, we will be broadcasting live from Buckets. We've never been to Buckets before. And we're going to be doing our show there, our happy hour show from 6:00 until 7-ish. And the fundraiser at Buckets is going to be for the whale. Every night, Buckets is raising money for a business on Fort Myers Beach. Tonight, it's Nervous Nellies. If you're out and about, stop by and see everybody from Nervous Nellies and throw a little money into the kitty there. So we're not sure about tomorrow. Definitely on Wednesday, we have a restoration company coming on with us to talk about that. About how to, restore your abode. So that'll be Wednesday. And we are also working on an attorney to talk to you about your insurance and how the insurance is being denied. The flood insurance is being denied because they say it's a hurricane. Well, of course, the hurricane brought the flood. So the whole thing's a nightmare, and the insurance companies are denying you all. So do you need an attorney? Go ahead.
Adjuster who sounds really good. That could be very informative.
Adjuster being somebody that'll give them the right number of what their home is worth and then factor it into the 50% rule. Of course, we're going to talk about the 50% thing because that's always a fun topic. All right. So we've been on way too long, and we appreciate everything you guys are doing for us and appreciate the backing, especially after the crazy phone call that we shared with you all. So you all have a great night. We'll see you again tomorrow or Wednesday. The meeting on Tuesday is 4:00 in the Shrimp One building. So maybe we'll see you there. Bye-bye.
Hurricane Ian wind and the potential is already as high as it's massive, impacting
Ian
homes.
is bearing down on
The
its western
coast made landfall.
strongest hurricanes to strike the U.S. in decades.
When everything settles and the storm is past and daylight breaks on the destruction that is left, your house, your car, your place of work, your community, life as you know it, is gone. You can't help but ask yourself, how can we rebuild? How do we get our community up and running? How can you provide access to necessities when roads are demolished and resources are obsolete? How can you instill hope in the community after so much devastation? Most importantly, how can you rebuild better than before and ensure a better tomorrow? Well, the answer to these questions lie within these men and women. They're the working class, the linemen, electricians, contractors, builders, roofers, first responders, volunteers, boat captains, and community members themselves.
Oh no, I'm not leaving. This is home. Nobody's leaving.
Yeah, this is where we live. To see it the way it is and somewhat unrecognizable.
For us, nah, we can't let it go like this. And we've only begun to fight, I guess.
These are the heroes that make rebuilding possible. This is The Rebuild.